You think it's gonna work?
There's only one way to find out.
Well, you better find out fast. My sensors indicate he just arrived.
All right, I'm going in.
Before you do, if I could give you one piece of advice.
Yeah?
Don't go easy on him.
Hey, thanks for coming in. Have a seat right there. To be honest, I'm a little surprised you agreed to this.
So this is against all legal advice that I've gotten. The last thing I posted was a script. It was actually made for me by lawyers. I've been having to bite my tongue for this whole month while we collect all the evidence. And that's what's messing me up the most, man, not being able to come out and just talk.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and finally talking, but you know, Kate, we've already done the investigation. We already have all the evidence. That's what these boxes are here for. So we know what you did. You know, you're this crypto mastermind. You've got multiple wallets, hundreds of tokens. We've got them all, Kay.
I am no crypto mastermind, all right? I'm literally a content creator and I trusted the wrong people and it's led to this disaster that I'm in. And I really want to apologize about being led by somebody that I should not have trusted so much. I should have invested more of my time into really understanding what went on instead of relying on others. And for this, I hold my hands up.
That's absolute bull. You can't just scapegoat Sam Pepper. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a bad dude, but let's be honest, you're looking pretty bad here too, buddy. You were the ambassador of a kid's charity coin and sold within 24 hours.
It was the actions of one individual that caused the entire project to not be able to sustain itself, which was the original plan.
Not this again. Kay, we're going in circles, buddy. Look, let's take a quick break. I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee. Don't you go anywhere, okay? I'll be right back. He's not confessing, even after everything. He just keeps saying it's Sam. What do I do?
Well, I ran a few simulations, and I really think you should try something else.
You know I don't believe in treating the witness as hostile.
No, not that. So far, you've been leading the conversation. Try having him start from the beginning and see if you can catch him in a lie. It'll make it harder for him to backtrack.
All right, Kay, we're gonna try something different. I'm gonna actually try to give you a chance here. Do you have any actual evidence for what you're saying here?
Everything I'm about to say has been investigated and looked at by numerous blockchain detectives.
Oh, blockchain detectives, huh? Yeah, my partner told me you sent in some evidence of you confronting Sam Pepper or something. Yeah, we'll play it right here on the screen.
We can see his wallets where he's literally got hundreds of thousands of dollars. He must be hiding something to lie to me about this. And then show me your wallets. But right now, all the proof I have is that you made a ton of money, Sam.
No, I didn't.
Bro, Sam, then help me help you then, all right? Help me help you. But right now, it looks like you made a ton of money, bro. And you lied to me and said you didn't. And that's what's hurting me the most. What hurts me the most is that you lied, bro.
I'm telling you, I didn't make a ton of money, Kay.
All right, I'm gonna pause it right there. I'm gonna be honest with you, Kay. There's a problem with the evidence you're showing here. That wallet you're showing on screen right now that has all this money that Sam Pepper supposedly made, it doesn't belong to Sam Pepper. I personally traced it down. It belongs to somebody named Boink Boink. I actually called Boink Boink to confirm this.
Okay, is this boinkboink.eth?
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, you're not Sam Pepper, are you?
Nope.
You have nothing to do with Sam Pepper.
Nope.
CK, not only were you wrong about Sam Pepper owning this wallet you put on screen and said had $170,000.
All the proof I have is that you made a ton of money, Sam.
You also slandered someone else's reputation in this ridiculous quest to be completely innocent. I mean, what do you have to say for yourself, man?
Everything I'm about to say has been investigated and looked at by numerous blockchain detectives.
Kay, you've already said that. And look, I hate to ask this, but are these blockchain detectives in the room with us right now, Kay?
The blockchain detectives that I hired over the past few weeks have found reasonable evidence that suggests that many of these wallets connect back to Sam himself.
Wait. Slow down now, okay? You're changing the subject on me. We can go there, but to be clear, now you're talking about the pre-sale list Sam had. You're saying those wallets are secretly his. What evidence do you have for that?
And the biggest concern and what we've really found out and what led us down a deeper rabbit hole was that if you type in all of these Twitter names on the left, half of them are fake not even real accounts. Who even knows if these accounts ever existed? So the people that Sam are trying to verify are real people putting money into the pre-sale are in fact fake people that don't exist. Currently, it's looking extremely likely that these wallets were owned by one single person. So that means that one individual owned 12.24% of the total supply, which is obviously insane.
Okay, let me just stop you there, bud. Not only do these people exist, but you were wrong about the most basic piece of information. A lot of those names aren't Twitter handles at all. They're Telegram handles. Like this Pronos333, the example you gave here, bud, he 100% exists. He called himself the wordsmith of the Wild West, as we can see from an archive. Or take another guy from this pre-sale list, which is all controlled by Pepper. He simply went by Jamie when I reached out and interviewed him.
But one of the things Kay said is that
you guys in the pre-sale list didn't exist and that you guys secretly were controlled by Sam Pepper's. Like Sam Pepper, y'all were fake accounts and Sam Pepper controlled everything. But that's not true, is it?
No, not at all.
A lot of us actually lost a lot of money on Save the Kids. Like me personally, I lost 6 BNB as well.
So Kate, your whole theory about Sam Pepper secretly controlling 12% of the coins and all these accounts being fake, it's just more incorrect information. I mean, for all this so-called self-investigation you've done, you've uncovered nothing but a bunch of false information, which you used to paint yourself as innocent and Sam Pepper as this evil villain. But does it ever occur to you that maybe you're in the wrong here? Look, just try saying sorry to the people you affected. I
am genuinely so sorry that any of this ever happened. It was never my intention, and if I could take it back, I would instantly in a heartbeat.
Good. Actually, hey, that's a start. You know, just leave it there. Don't make any more excuses.
Even though I was tricked by somebody that took advantage of me and my fan base.
All right, look, that's it. This is over. If you're gonna lie, you're gonna deflect blame. Okay, let's see where that gets you, right? Look, you just hang tight. Someone will come get you. But for now, this interview's over. That's it. We're wrapping up here.
I may be wrong here, but I detect frustration in your tone.
You know what? A little bit. I just thought after collecting this much evidence, catching Kay in this many lies, I thought he would come clean.
Why would he with a fan base of literal children? I assess he has a 68.2% chance of escaping this at its current course. And that's calculating if law enforcement doesn't intervene.
So what do? I feel like I've shown people everything.
Well, confessions are nice, but the next best thing is an airtight case. You've demonstrated several flaws in Kay's defense, but perhaps there's more evidence to be found.
Will facts even matter at this point? I'm tired of this.
I know, but your work is far from over. You've got to finish what you started.
As I went back to the studio, I dreaded the long night ahead. But somewhere late at night, buried in the blockchain, I found something that made it all worth it. Okay, you got it. Ladies and gentlemen, with the sun pouring in through the windows here, I've been up all night researching the so-called response of Fraser K, and I'm ready to debunk it. So far, I've already demonstrated that K's so-called blockchain detectives are about as reliable as Dream's Harvard astrophysicist, and that the conspiracy theory of Sam Pepper controlling the pre-sale list is false. But I want to say here, I'm not defending Sam Pepper by any means. Sam Pepper was a key player in Save the Kids, the scam, but so was Fraser K, and with his ridiculous self-investigation where he found himself innocent, K muddied the water by throwing a bunch of accusations against Sam, many of which are not true. So I had to clear those up. But now let's move to Fraser K himself. If you watched my last video on Save the Kids, all our reporting ends up standing up pretty strong. K started the coin, Sam Pepper changed the anti-whale code, and both of them have an incredibly shady and long history in cryptocurrency. But K is now denying a lot of this accountability in a new response video that he put out. He's been basically saying he doesn't understand how crypto works. He said it multiple times.
I am no crypto mastermind, all right? I'm literally a content creator and I have no technical background or knowledge.
This is easily debunkable. Not only because K then reveals 4 wallets of his, But we also know that in these wallets are hundreds of different types of cryptocurrencies. Take, for instance, his main wallet, which has over 100 unique types. And I'm just going to say this right now. If someone owns 100 of anything, you're not going to believe them when they say they have no knowledge of that thing. Kate knew what he was doing, and pretending to be a dumb influencer isn't going to work. Now, another thing I want to address is Kay pretending that he was somehow a victim of Sam Pepper. He makes a lot of noise about the supposed money he lost on Save the Kids, which he tallies up to be $37,000.
But I'm going to exactly break down to you how I lost $37,000 on Save the Kids.
Now, as I said, it doesn't really matter if he lost money on this scam. The problem is you dumped the coin and that you made six figures on other cryptocurrencies. But even this $37,000 he lost, I'm not sure he actually did. See, one of the biggest costs he mentions is a $55,000 listing on an app called PooCoin.
2 hours after Save the Kids was launched, I sent $55,000 of my own money, and this was for one single purpose. If you're familiar with crypto, this website is a place where you go to check out all of the tokens, the graphs, everything like that. And that is exactly what the $55,000 was for.
Now, this is crazy. This sounds like a lot of money. But what Kay doesn't tell you is that technically he could take back that money anytime. To understand why, let me explain how this works. Save the Kids got on something called the vetted list for PooCoin. Now, to do that, you have to be a top 10 contributor to their liquidity pool. Once you are, you will show up on a top 10 vetted list. But here's the thing about this list. You can take your money back out of these pools at any time. Something that I confirmed with the PooCoin promotional team. And they said that they decided to block Save the Kids from the list after everything went down. Quote, when tokens are blocked, they can then withdraw their PooCoin LP at any time, which they should do because there's no longer any benefit in keeping it there. So right there, ladies and gentlemen, in black and white, this payment that Fraser made can be taken back out. And speaking of that block, sure enough, I noticed that the number 6 spot is blocked right now on PooCoin. So I asked the team, is that Save the Kids? They responded, yes, number 6 is a blocked entry for Save the Kids. Now, what's great about this is we can still see how much money is still in there. $41,195.84. I asked the listing company how much money could be withdrawn from here after fees. He starts by saying, if the 42K is withdrawn, it will turn into 21K in BNB and 21K in PooCoin. And then after some calculation, he says, so in total, they will get back $37,228, which coincidentally is about the amount he said that he lost.
How I lost $37,000 on Save the Kids.
But there's actually more here I discovered as well, because after Kay confessed which wallets he owned, I went back and checked. And this wallet right here, it was the largest owner of Save the Kids tokens at launch. Let me repeat that. The person with the largest single Save the Kids token balance at launch was none other than Fraser K. And of course, we know what he did with these tokens. He sold. So just imagine for a second, you're an ambassador of a coin. You created it. You have the largest balance, and then you sell almost immediately. And then when you get caught, you blame it on Sam Pepper, a guy who worked for you. And you say, oh no, I didn't know anything about crypto. But it gets even worse than that. This, ladies and gentlemen, might be the point where Kay's whole dodging of accountability falls apart. So far, we've heard repeatedly from Kay about how he was backstabbed by Sam Pepper, how Sam Pepper caused everything when Sam Pepper sold his tokens. But given all the lies from Fraser K, I wasn't sure. Did Sam actually sell before Fraser? Well, I went back and checked their main wallets we know of. And what I found made me sick to my stomach. Here's a little spreadsheet I made with their main wallets along with their first sell of Save the Kids in the transaction ID. And for reference, these tokens were given to them at June 5th at 10:26 p.m. UTC time. And if you take a look at this, and I put their fastest sell in bold, you'll notice that it was not Sam Pepper who sold first. It was actually Fraser K. Fraser K sold 30 minutes before Sam Pepper. An entire 30 minutes before. This man who threw this guy under the bus completely and played innocent, in actuality, started selling first. Now again, is Sam Pepper a dirtbag? Yes. You only have to watch my other videos to know that I am not a fan of Sam Pepper. I do not like Sam Pepper. He had a huge role in this scam. But for Kay to play the victim, when all the evidence is against that narrative, I can't sit idly by and let him lie to people. Sam Pepper was not the first to run for the door. Sam Pepper just ended up selling a little faster in the end. Now, other things you should also probably know is that Kay is not past his days of trying to silence people. See, right before launching his new response video, Kay sent another cease and desist letter. Not to me, this time it was to Sam Pepper. Now, I can't show you it on screen because unfortunately it was marked confidential, but what I can tell you is that part of the cease and desist letter was apparently because Sam Pepper had given me and some ordinary gamers, my co-investigator, who you should watch here, he had given us information. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If Kay can't stop me from talking, he'll try to stop Sam Pepper from talking. And I confronted Frazier about this, by the way, to give him a chance to deny it because we all know that we take Pepper with a grain of salt. But he didn't respond for comment. But it just seems like more and more action by Frazier to deal with this by silencing people rather than coming out and just being honest about his actual dealings in Save the Kids. Now, at this point, we've already debunked nearly every point of Frazier's self-investigation and proven his response to be massively wrong at best and completely manipulative at worst. But there's another feature here I'd like to discuss. These giveaways that Frazier K addresses. See, he says there's only one mistake in all of the giveaways.
So it's come to my attention that one giveaway out of all of them was missed, and this is a $500 giveaway to a single person.
But this is not true. The wallets I'm about to show you not only won multiple giveaway tokens from Frazier K, but some of them are also getting paid BNB by K. Coincidence? Maybe. But when 5 wallets win 2 or more of your giveaways and multiple of them are getting paid from your main wallet, it starts looking pretty suspicious. Take, for instance, that second wallet on screen here, OX49A4. It won 3 giveaways from K. It was also paid $5,000 from K's main wallet. And then, oops, what's this? It also bought into the Save the Kids presale. Probably a coincidence, I'm sure. But not only that, this wallet, which won all these giveaways, also got paid by, hilariously enough, 2 known Sam Pepper wallets. In fact, the first ever transaction on this wallet is from none other than sampepper.eth, making it likely that this wallet, which won multiple of Frazier's giveaways, is either Sam Pepper or someone close to Kay and Sam. I asked Sam about this. He denied it being his wallet. But tell me again how all of these so-called giveaways were on the up and up. I mean, sure, some money was definitely given away to real people, but there's some seriously shady business too, which Kay has obviously not addressed. Why do the people he's picking to win also have a history of being paid by known Sam Pepper wallets and his wallet in the past? I thought they were random strangers. But now that we've talked about these giveaways, I have one last surprise for you guys, one last big reveal. So far, most of these videos have been focused on the perpetrators of the Save the Kids scam. But I'd like to shift gears and talk about the victims of Save the Kids, the fans. Previously, we didn't know who invested and why, but now that's changed because I just got access to the public presale request list. And why that's important is because in order to get on it, you had to answer some questions, most notably why you wanted to buy Save the Kids and how long you planned to hold it. The purpose of me sharing this is to get you in the heads of some of the people who bought into Save the Kids token, many of whom who lost money. Because right away from the responses, it's pretty clear. Some of them just wanted to make money. Why do you want to buy? Lambo, I want to buy Lambo. Lamborghini, sir, Lamborghini, I want to buy Lambo so I can afford Lambo to buy a Lambo. But others weren't in it for the money. They were just fans. Support the cause and FaZe Clan. Love FaZe Clan and what you guys are doing. FaZe Moon. Heard about this through Follow Frazier and my other faves from FaZe. First of all, I like the ambassador very much. I've been following FaZe K for a long time. And then interestingly, in the how long you plan to hold section, this person said, I plan to hold until FaZe K abandons this project. Just kidding. Well, turns out K wasn't kidding. These are just a few of the responses. There are almost 100 responses like this that mention FaZe specifically. Others mention a specific FaZe member like K or Nikan. Others really just wanted to save the kids. Quote, why do you want to buy? Because I want to help participate for charity. Help people with charity and earn some money as well. Because being on a charity coin and getting rich at the same time is just so satisfying. And what this shows is the real humans behind a scam like Save the Kids. They don't all go in for the same reasons. They're not just numbers on a chart. These were real people that this affected. Nobody seems to care about that. Everything is about blaming Sam Pepper and how Kay didn't do anything wrong. But the truth is, it wasn't all Sam Pepper's fault. Kay owned the biggest wallet. He started selling before Sam, and he created this coin. Don't let him lie to you. Not about that or about Sam making hundreds of thousands of dollars from Save the Kids, because the evidence just isn't there. These blockchain detectives that he hired are a joke. They mistook Boink Boink for Sam. They mistook an entire pre-sale wallet list for a conspiracy about Sam Pepper owning everything. See, the truth is, all these influencers love shilling crypto when it's fun and making them money. But the second people get scammed and people start to think there might be some trouble involved, everybody disappears. Nobody knows how crypto works, and it's impossible to get anyone to take any accountability. And I can't help but think it's ultimately going to take law enforcement.
Welcome back to another edition of Fake Guru. Today, we're doing something real simple. I found this on Twitter. This is a guru that approached Anthony Fantano, and I just want you guys to appreciate the arrogance combined with the incoherence combined with the manic state this person seems to be in. So without further ado, I give you Zach Attack, the Zach Hart. Dearest Anthony, I'm an influential mentor who has consulted athletes, CEOs, celebrities, and more for over 30 years. While this email may seem like a pitch of my services, make no mistake, this is a benefaction for you. I won't charge you for this analysis, but after you read these words, your head nodding yes will be a certainty. Hold on, just to be clear, I think he's saying by I won't charge you for this analysis, I think he means this email. Like he's saying like, I won't charge you for this email that I'm sending you right now. Because later it becomes clear that he does want to charge Anthony Fantano. We'll get to that. I've watched over a dozen of your YouTube videos. Now remember guys, this is free advice. Okay, just remember this is a benefaction and this is free advice. I've watched over a dozen of your YouTube videos and there is one consistently in every clip. There is great weakness behind your eyes. Pause and think this truth. Pause. Silence. Pause. Think. Pause. I'm available from May 2020 to April 2020. He's available from May 2020 to April 2020. Not from April 2020 to May 2020. No, from May 2020 to April 2020. Just remember that. To meet with you in person 4 times at a discounted rate of $10,000 a session. So the analysis that's free is definitely not the sessions. He wants to charge a lot of money for the sessions, $10,000 to be exact. My mentoring will yield you this money back and much more within a year's time. I leave you with a quote to consider. Billy Corgan says in the 1998 song, Tonight, Tonight, if you held yourself up to the light, illuminate soon.
And you know you never should, but you're sure you couldn't be right if you held yourself up to the light. And the embers never fade in your city by the lake, the place where I was born. Believe in me, believe.
Today, we have Gary Tan, the co-founder of Initialized Capital, who just had a gigantic win with Coinbase's IPO. How much money did you make on that deal, roughly?
For my investors, we made, about $2 billion or so.
How does that feel?
I mean, it's awesome. And if anything, I'm like, I want to do that over and over again. And the cool thing is that's what venture capital actually is. Like the whole point of it is this kind of stuff, like find the next Google, find the next Coinbase. I want the stuff I put together to actually help people go and start businesses. People look at technology. It's like you have to have a Stanford degree in CS to like start a company. And I'm like, no, that's not actually how it should work. It might work like that 20 years ago, but it's not how it works today. I don't want it to work that way. The good news is that there is an organic way to understand everything that you need to know to start a business and to get ahead in life. We're on that side of the equation, right? And then there's another darker side that requires the people to enter that side to charge money and charge a lot of money. And then the tricky thing that's funny is that like, I actually don't think that they're good businesses. Don't do it for the money. Do it because like you get to create something that's awesome. And then it might be something that 1 billion people end up using, which is insane.
But first, Gary, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This is super fun. Big fan, long time watcher, viewer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I think obviously the huge news is Coinbase IPO'd, and how much money did you make on that deal, roughly?
Oh, for my investors, we made, about $2 billion or so, and off of less than $300,000 in. So
how does that feel?
I mean, it's awesome. And if anything, I'm like, I want to do that over and over again. Right. And the cool thing is that's what venture capital actually is. Like the whole point of it is this kind of stuff, like find the next Google, find the next Coinbase. And when you hit like outrageously big, and it's awesome.
So obviously hindsight's 2020, but did you feel like when you found Coinbase, can you tell us a little bit about did you first meet Brian, or who did you first meet? And did you feel like, I mean, obviously there's always going to be a hindsight bias, but what made Coinbase attractive to you starting out?
Yeah, so I got introduced to Brian through another founder who we had backed. He now actually founded a $1 billion company called Sif Science. So it just recently reached $1 billion. Wow. And Coinbase, top ticked at 100 billion. So that's the crazy thing about tech, right? Like when business works, you can literally have these giant swings of 100x, 1000x, like 10,000x. But at that point it was, I'm a software engineer. That other founder was a software engineer, and Brian was a software engineer. And that's actually sort of what brought us together. It was like, I knew that Brian with Jason Tan from Sif Science were working together. Brian was at Airbnb at the time as actually as an engineer, just implementing anti-fraud technology. And Jason said, hey, my best customer, he's starting a company, but he's so amazing. He would stay up until 2 a.m. with us when he didn't have to. Like this was, above and beyond like a normal software engineering job. Even at like a high powered startup like Airbnb, it's like, who stays up until 2 a.m. for your employer? But I think that was what really jumped out at me, was like, this is someone who is doing it for the love of actually making stuff. And, it sounds like that shouldn't happen, but that was actually how we found and funded someone like Brian Armstrong. It was that he was true engineer, hacker, wanted to create stuff, for real, like not doing it for the money, which is crazy because you hear these speeches about like follow your passion and all of that. But that's what I think is really, really true for people who are starting out in their careers in particular. It's like, don't do it for the money. Do it because like you get to create something that's awesome. And then it might be something that 1 billion people end up using, which is insane.
I find that so interesting that you kind of invested in him for who he was, or at least you got interested in at first with who he was. That's something that I've heard Jason Calcanis say. Is he goes, I invest in the person almost as much or more than I invest in the company itself.
Because there is no company.
Right. Yeah.
It's
right.
just
Especially.
person.
Yeah. It's an idea. And really most of it's execution. At that point, when did you sort of get a picture of what he wanted to do with crypto?
Well, so I had tried to buy Bitcoin on Mt. Gox. I was curious like anyone else. I thought, this is a crazy idea. It might just work, and let me try to buy it. And it was like literally going to a Magic the Gathering trading card forum and trying to buy something that felt completely illicit. It wasn't clear that the credits would ever show up in what felt like basically a PHPPB website, and it did, and I ended up getting the Bitcoin. And then the lucky thing is I funded Coinbase, so I was able to transfer the Bitcoin off of the exchange onto Coinbase, and that's how I kept my Bitcoin
Before
actually.
it blew up, because people.
Yeah, totally.
Mt. Gox, for those of you who don't know, completely blew up. A lot of people lost all their money.
Everything.
Yeah,
all of their Bitcoin.
That's kind of funny because that is, to some extent, like that's Coinbase's niche, is that we're you might think the most legitimate crypto exchange. Like, and they also
clean
make
wallet place for your Bitcoin.
Yeah, right, exactly. I when I first got into crypto, my first account was with Coinbase because I looked around. I said, this is sort of a intimidating new technology. I don't know where to go. Who's got sort of the easiest interface to go to? I think Brian has done a great job of positioning himself within that market. Do you know, I don't know how much you talked to them early on. Do you know if they intended to do that from the get-go of like, this is our positioning? And
they had to. I mean, I think Brian, the cool thing about him is that he's so first principles. He's like, well, let me work backwards from the world I want to live in, which is I want to be able to use Bitcoin to pay my rent, to buy a pizza, to do, and all of these things ended up happening over Coinbase. But, you couldn't really do it. In order to transfer Bitcoin from one person to another, you would have to download a client, download a full node, learn how to use a command line tool. And then even then, like who on the other end is actually going to be able to do that and receive that Bitcoin? And so he sort of worked backwards from, I know that I want to use Bitcoin for everything. And then what do I need to do to get there? And then he built it.
That's amazing. Just as an aside, before we move on, are you a Bitcoin maximalist? Do you believe in other coins? What's sort of your, do you got any hot takes about crypto?
Oh yeah. I mean, I love Bitcoin. I hold Bitcoin. If anything, that's the main thing that's sort of driving the revolution right now is people look at the amount of US dollars in the world, and 25% of all US dollars were printed in the last year. So that's made up, right? Money printers are going burr, and you want a safe place to store money. So that makes sense to me. But the next generation, I think, is really about DeFi and maybe marketplaces and decentralized autonomous organizations. And that requires programmable money. And that's what Ethereum actually is. And it might be Ethereum. I actually think Solana might be really good. But there's something like that. There are a bunch of different chains that, we could mention. Polkadot, I think, is interesting. But, I'm mainly only holding Ethereum and Bitcoin because those, I think, are sort of the home base. Like all roads sort of like lead back to those.
Yeah. And I agree. I'm kind of similar. And if you're holding
Doge is a
Ethereum
scam,
right now,
unfortunately, sorry, everyone. It's a scam. Don't do it. People are going to cancel me for this, but I would not tell my closest friends to buy Doge right now.
Well, the whole reason, I mean, you just look at why most people are buying it. Most people are buying it because other people are buying it. If we could just get everyone to buy it, the price go up.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's nihilism. I'm not a nihilist. I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
I didn't buy GameStop. I bought Coinbase.
Well, you did very well for yourself and for your investors. $2 billion. That has to be one of the biggest wins in venture capital. I mean, I imagine, like in terms of your X, that is like an all-time great investment.
I mean, we're lucky. I mean, it's amazing. Let's do more.
So one of the things you talk about in terms of, if we could get into the mind of how you invest, because Coinbase came and went. You can't invest in Coinbase at the start anymore. If people are thinking about investing in new companies, and we should say that it's very risky, and that you should make sure that you can lose that money, because venture capital, as you said, is just trying to find that one home run. You talk about something called pre-fit. You invest in products pre-fit. What is that?
Yeah, so product market fit is sort of what everyone's looking for. It's literally, you've made something that people really want, and they want it so much that you suddenly look down and all of your graphs are up and to the left. or up and to the right. They are just completely, going up all the time. You're running out of inventory. You're running out of people to do customer support. Like, you're just trying to hold it together, really. And that was the moment. It wasn't when I first invested in Coinbase. Coinbase spent at least 9 to 12 months sort of in the wilderness. Bitcoin was up, it was down. People weren't really paying attention to this. They were still using Mt. Gox. But then at some point, everything shifted. I think it was a mix of, Google decided to bless Coinbase as the #1 hit in when you search for Bitcoin. I think it was Bitcoin itself went from $5 to $20 on the way to $2,000. And so it was a confluence of forces. And, Brian Armstrong was right software, right place, right time to capitalize and build the brand. And so it's basically part luck and part preparation. And the only thing you can do is preparation.
So if I understand, you're trying to find founders before they've kind of found their way necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even that there's a market yet.
How do you even do that though? I mean, that seems like venture capital already feels like throwing a dart at a dartboard blind. This feels like throwing a dart and you don't even know if there's a dartboard there.
Yeah. Well, I was sort of primed for Bitcoin as an idea because I worked for Peter Thiel, making hedge fund software for him. And they made me read this book called The Dollar Crisis. So all the things we talk about today, where the US dollar is a fiat currency and anyone can, the Fed just prints it all the time, that wasn't something that people generally knew. You can trace everything back to that moment when Nixon took us off the gold standard. And, WTF happened in 1971.com, right? Just go to that website and you'll see there's no commentary. It's just graphs of everything about modern society changed at that moment. And so I had that loaded in my head, and then I had actually tried Mt. Gox. So if I connected those things together, I said, well, this is a fringe, weird thing, but smart people who can build stuff have already invested their time and energy in this thing. And so if I say that what they believe actually comes true, what will this be? And, at that moment, I said, this is it. Like, this has to be it. But the thing is, and you're right to point out, like, this is, we had to fund 98 other companies that all didn't do that well. I'll take it back. Probably 20 of them did well enough to make their founders millionaires. But, probably 80 of them basically went out of business. And, that isn't to say we didn't make money. We sometimes got our money back. That isn't to say the founders didn't end up better. Like, not all of them ended up better off, but many of them went on and got better jobs, like became head of, tech or, PM at all these other top companies. So, the cool thing about it is, like, even in failure, if you're good and you're a good builder, you can actually still succeed. But then it still definitely took a portfolio of 100 companies, about $50,000 in 100 companies in order for us to find 2 companies worth $10 billion or more. The other one in that portfolio of a $7 million fund was Instacart, actually.
Wow. That's really exciting. And to do the math for everybody, that's $5 million, most of which presumably would have taken a loss on to find those 2 wins. But part of, I guess, finding a company before the product market fit is that you have less competition, I would assume, from other venture capitalists who are looking for that, right?
I mean, I don't think people were looking for something like Coinbase at the moment that we funded it, when Brian Armstrong was one person. Because, actually after Series A, after that moment when Bitcoin went off $5 to $20, after they raised their first Series A from Union Square Ventures, that was when suddenly there were crypto funds and there were people looking for that thesis. And what's funny is there were probably 24 different competitors to Coinbase that were funded after Coinbase, but Coinbase already was #1 in Google. Like, you couldn't unseat them at that point. Like, it was already doing 15% of the global volume of Bitcoin transactions on Mt. Gox. Wow. So it had already won. Mm-hmm. And all of those other Bitcoin sort of like fast follower Coinbase competitors, I think 90% of them died.
That's incredible how much sometimes tech can be that way about being at the right place at the right time, having the right foundation, just sort of getting there early. But I think you also have to have a vision, right? Like over and over, it just seems like the people who understand the thesis first are best positioned to move. What thesis do you understand now, or do you believe in now that you don't think most other people have caught on to yet?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think people, well, the hard part is asking a VC this is not on the cutting edge enough, because the true answer to that is sitting in the mind of a founder who's watching this right now, and they won't know whether or not it's the thing that will be the future yet until they try to convince someone else of it. And then if they can convince that other person, then that's 2 people who will go out and infect like 4 people, and then these things like sort of spread like viruses after that. Crypto itself is like the perfect manifestation of a mind virus, and the cool thing is, it can come from any of us. So I don't know. I have like a bunch of different weird themes though that I think are continuing to grow really quickly. I mean, I think the idea that computers can see right now, that's insane. That's why we were the first investors in Cruise Automation, which was the first commercialized attempt at an autonomous vehicle company. Before it was Google X, and it was a research project, and they probably never were going to ship anything. But Cruise came along and said, oh no, we're actually going to retrofit some Audi S4s on this one. And
let's try to get some stuff on the road.
Yeah, let's get stuff on the road. And I think that taught us that, the ability for computers to be able to see and recognize things, it's wild. Like, we're just at the very early part of that. And so if you're a software engineer, you learn machine learning and computer vision, like you could just, that's the future of all robotics. God help us, maybe we'll all be out of jobs, but that's where it's going to go. It's almost too obvious now.
Maybe, but I agree. I do think that has like a really promising future. I think biotech's exciting, but moving on from venture capital, this is sort of part of Gary Tan. Another part of you is near and dear to my heart. You're a YouTuber, like a real deal. You put a ton of time into YouTube. You have a YouTube channel. We'll link it right here, guys. Go subscribe, where you do what you found the product market fit that I've been looking for, which is qualified people talking about business and giving advice to young entrepreneurs, young business people, but you've actually done it yourself. What got you inspired to do that?
Honestly, I started in the same way that a lot of other people start, which is Casey Neistat. Strangely, I met Casey, incredible person. But what really got me was he walked into our office at Initialized, and how our 20-year-old interns interacted with him got me thinking, because they walked up to him and they were like, it was like seeing an old friend. And then Casey actually just went into it, and he was like, oh, it's like happens to him like 10,000 times a day, I'm sure. It's like, oh, hey, it's like, he just goes with it. And he's like, I'm just talking with my old friend who I have spent, 50 hours with over the past couple years. After I saw that, then I watched all 50 hours or whatever it is, like, hundreds of hours of Casey's stuff. And then now Casey is a character in my head because I feel like I know him, even though I don't really, And then I realized, all of human consciousness is actually switching up right now. And this parasocial dynamic of people being able to talk to each other, that is so powerful, and you can use it for good. Well, you can, and this is, I think, is what is relevant to you, because you can use it for good or you can use it for evil. And so I desperately want to use this power for good, because I want to spread the good news. Like, I want to spread the gospel, like, we meet people who are software engineers who are not different than like the people who are watching this channel right now. And, but they do sit down in front of a computer and they ship code that like touches 10 people and 100 people and 1,000 people and then like 1 billion people. And that's like the world that we live in. That's the good news, right? And I want people to do that. But there are other people who are like, check out my crazy Patek Philippe watch. And like, I'm driving a Lambo. Knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think I think you said it best. There's a powerful shift going on, which is that the new kind of influencer or whatever does builds altitude for one thing. I mean, like when Casey Neistat walked into your office, he had immediate rapport in a way that almost no one else has ever had before, even celebrities. I mean, even, more and more we're seeing into the lives of celebrities, but for a while it's like, oh, they're just on the movie. You wouldn't see, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and think, I know that guy. You would think, oh, there's a star, but you wouldn't think I know him. Whereas now all these influencers, you do think you know something about them, depending on how intimate they let you in their life. And I do think it is a really powerful tool for connecting with people, and sort of taking whatever you want to take to the next level. As you said, it can take fraud, fake gurus, whatever, to the next level. It can also take, venture capital people to the next level and introduce them to all sorts of new founders that may have found you unapproachable before, right? Like they think, oh, that's the guy who invested in Coinbase. He's never going to invest in me, right? But like if they see, oh, it's Gary from the YouTube show, I'll go hit him up or whatever. I agree. It's really powerful. What are some lessons you've learned as a new YouTuber, like going from mostly focusing on a business, now you're on like a social side? Have you noticed anything different?
Oh man. I mean, I find that I want everyone I know who's smart, who could influence people, to do this now. Do you ever do that? Do you ever convince your friends to try to become YouTubers now that you have done it?
Well,
because it's like, here's some power that is like maybe really useful for you, but like, and then generally I try and do it with people who I genuinely think like could help other people.
That's what I try to do. So I've stopped doing it when I first kind of got a little bit, figured out YouTube a little bit. I was like, I wanted to help everyone do it. But then I realized there's so much survivorship bias in this thing that it's a bit like, have you ever heard do you know what the Joe Rogan podcast is? I mean,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he's always telling everyone they need to start a podcast. And at a certain point, it becomes a little bit grating. You're like, Joe, not everybody's going to start like this gigantic podcast. Some people get like 5 viewers, whatever. So I try to not be that. Like, I'm like, I want to encourage the people that I think this person, in other words, not fit a circle into the square peg hole, right? Like, but instead fit somebody who like, it seems like, no, they have something they want to say, A, and B, they look like they have the stomach for the long grind. Because it is a long grind to really reap the results. How long have you been doing it? A year, right?
Yeah, just coming up on 2 years now. 2 years. Wow. Yeah, it's wild.
How many subscribers are you at?
I think I'm at 125, something like that.
Killing it, Gary.
Yeah,
killing it.
I'm blessed, man. Like I'm very lucky, so I have no complaints. But I'm excited because I'm like, I want the stuff I put together to actually help people go and start businesses. And I think that that's kind of already happening. And so I think the next step for me is like, I want to create a community that's built on the people who sort of watch my stuff, actually.
And who are like building things, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. And then if we can go and I feel, I tend to think about this in terms of like, how do we build the Catholic Church? It's like, how do we build something that lasts?
I've noticed this
beyond?
Religious theme with computer science. You're like spread the good news, Catholic Church.
It's weird, right? But like that's what that's the wavelength I'm on right now, because I want people to know that they have a hand in this, actually, because it's scary these days. Like people look at technology and they say, I can't, it's like you have to have a Stanford degree in CS to like start a company. And I'm like, no, that's not actually how it should work. It might work like that 20 years ago, but it's not how it works today. I don't want it to work that way, right? Like what matters is, can you make something that's awesome? And then can we evaluate it on the terms of that instead of like someone's stupid resume, right? Like the world is so unjust when it comes to credentials and like how you get ahead. And the crazy thing about money printing is that like, people look at that and they say, oh, this is terrible. Like it's, my wealth is going to be inflated away. It's going to be stolen from me. And it's like, I think about it in like sort of redistributive sense, maybe, which is like, actually, this is awesome because it means that everything that can be funded, that is profitable, that should make money, that helps people, should get funded now. And that definitely wasn't happening like 5 years ago, 20 years ago, or 50 years ago. Definitely, you go back like hundreds of years and it's like basically nothing good was getting funded, right? It's all about just like keeping the social order like basically completely stagnant and keeping people where they are. And I'm like, shoot, like what this means is like amazing stuff, but we can't do it just by like sort of holding them in one place. Like, let's actually teach people that they can create stuff for each other. Like, there's so many problems out there to solve. Let's solve all of them now. Like, there's the money for it.
Let's empower people. I find it very interesting. And I thought of two things. Number one, your point about you don't need a like college degree from Stanford. That's definitely true. It's also more and more true. This is what kills me. The ethos of online education is something I believe super strongly in. I think it's kind of been corrupted by like these predatory courses who ironically make fun of how much college costs and then gouge prices for their like garbage 16, hour course. And they charge, $3,000 for it. But there are people who are doing it the right way. I interviewed Quincy Larson, creator of Free Code Camp. And it's like,
amazing.
He's teaching everybody constantly, and he'll give a free coding education to anyone absolutely for free, no strings attached. And then I thought of something else because you said you want to create a community. It almost reminds me of like an online Y Combinator type thing.
Yeah.
Of like where Y Combinator almost in a way feels a bit exclusive. I was talking to Justin Kahn and I was like talking to him about
Justin's awesome.
Yeah, he's great. But but there's only so many people Y Combinator can take. And one of the beautiful things about online communities is that they scale super easily. But I'm actually interested in this. How do you think online communities fail compared to real life communities? And how do you want to address that?
Yeah, that's a great question. You brought up Y Combinator, and I have to sort of point out, like, actually, that's what Paul Graham did. Like, I was a software engineer with credit card debt, and I was like running the rat race working for Microsoft. And then I found Paul Graham's essays, and he taught me, oh shoot, like you don't actually have to have a job. Like you weren't meant to have a job. Maybe you should start a company.
Well,
and
we are getting into some California Paul Graham ideology. I love it. Go.
But yeah, and then basically he made Hacker News, which is like, you look at circle.so or you look at like a lot of these like online communities for creators.
Mm-hmm.
The Hacker News was like the first one. I mean, I guess Reddit was the first, and then Hacker News he started because the founders of Reddit wouldn't give him super moderator access for r/startups on Reddit. So, but the subreddit is an incredibly powerful idea for like how these communities should probably work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think we're just recycling that because that's actually how YC started. Like I found out about YC through essays and then being a part of that community. And then the top thing on Hacker News was like, apply to Y Combinator. And then you're like, oh, well, what is this thing? And I was like, oh, I could do that. And now they've created $400-500 billion worth of startups that wouldn't have existed before.
They've put out so many incredible companies. And I do think it's amazing how much it's like, let's take a great idea and let's just iterate on it. And it feels to me like you're trying to iterate on the same inspiration that you got from Paul Graham and iterate it for a new generation. Like for the
go with what I think that's the thing. There's nothing new under the sun. There's just what you uniquely can add. And then beyond that, it's synthesis, right? Like stand on the shoulders of giants, look at what people want, and then try to give it to them, really.
So one thing I have to ask is that there is this problem that I talk about a lot on my channel that I want to ask you about because you're in the sort of business education space. And I'm super passionate about sort of this weird phenomenon of fake gurus, fake business coaches who there's this almost meta of promising the world to people and kind of not giving them the goods.
Yeah.
And my question to you is, have you seen this play out? And how do you think we can change this for the better?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a reason why this happens. And
Tell me why.
My theory is that, even as YouTubers, we have an incredible voice, but, unfortunately, like it or not, you and I, even with the big following, we are under the API. So all of the world is being rewritten with software. People who write the software get to sort of control things. And then, the rest of us are sort of like, we're basically like Uber drivers, and it kind of sucks on the one hand. On the other hand, like, we can figure out how to get ahead on that stuff, right? And it's still valuable and powerful. And so part of how the algorithms work, some of it is organic. You and I spend a lot of time on pure organic, right? But there are people out there who are these fake gurus who spend a lot of time on paid. And that's an interesting quirk of the system. The more money you charge, in startup parlance, we talk about it as lifetime value. So the more a customer who comes in is worth to you, the more you can, then you can take that money and you put it back in customer acquisition costs.
You blitz scale ads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're seeing. The really great content does still rise up. It's purely organic. And that's the good news, right? The good news is that there is an organic way to understand everything that you need to know to start a business and to get ahead in life, right? And it's purely organic. Yeah, and we're on that side of, that side of the equation, right? And then there's another darker side that requires the people to enter that side to charge money and charge a lot of money. And then the tricky thing that's funny is that, like, I actually don't think that they're good businesses. Like, if you look at some of the lawsuits between some of the people we're talking about, I mean, we don't have to name names. It's like all of them have been in lawsuits. All of them, like, double cross, backstab, like, hurt each other. And it's like, you know what? Like, I work with a lot of founders. I work with a lot of businesses. And the good founders, lawsuits generally, like, you can run into one lawsuit like your entire 10 years because like something happened, right? But like some of these people, it like seems like there's a lawsuit that like follows them every single year or like every 6 months, and it's like, shoot, these are not good businesses, and like you're not making enough money, and so that's why that stuff happens, right? Like, it's just like, so on the one hand, don't hate the player, hate the game. Like, the game is that people are taking profits, but they're not profits. They're actually, they drop it back into costs, and they're running a treadmill actually. But what that means is they get way more distribution, a lot more people see it. And that's what you're sort of pointing to. It's like, why are all of these fake gurus doing this? And it's like, I feel empathy and sympathy for them because they are also under the API and they have to do it. They don't have another choice.
Yeah. Part of me agrees that it's like not as good of a business model as people think, because you realize they're making 3 million, but they're spending 2.5 on, AdSense, but another part of my issue is that part of the claims you have to make to convert on traffic, and because your whole thing is like bringing costs down, part of it is like the easiest way is, hey man, make some more claims, like tell people, give them some wild story and tell them you're going to change their life and make it better. And the way I think about it is, we don't allow people to say, hey, I've got a cancer curing drug, right? Because it's predatory advertising, because fundamentally anyone sick would buy that. Why do we allow people to sell get rich quick schemes? It's the same thing, but it's for, poor people are in desperate situations.
I'm with you.
They'll do anything. They'll do anything to get out of their situation. And they're told, oh, don't worry about it. You just need to know like these like 3 little tricks to get out of it. Which is why, like, I've railed against it forever, but I've decided that the one new shift that I've gone towards is now trying to platform good voices and show people there's a better way to do this. And there's also better people to listen to. I'm not telling people to listen to my business advice, but I will send it to people like your channel, people like Justin Kahn, people like Jason Kalkanis, who y'all put out tons of free content talking about how to be a real entrepreneur, how to, each of you guys have done incredible, whether it be through businesses you've built or investments you've made. I guess that's the good news for me, is that I do see more of you guys coming out there, and I'm like, yes, tell your other VC friends that they need to get. So I guess I am glad that you're telling everyone to get into YouTube, because I'm like, yes, tell them to get involved. I'd love to support their channel if I can.
And then the algorithm is going to support you and support me, and like we'll all get there together, actually, which is really cool.
So this is interesting. The idea of algorithms now controlling things. There are obviously really good things that it's done. Algorithms are kind of incredible content discovery mechanisms for new content that like doesn't have distribution, and they can just find it. What do you think are some problems we are seeing with, let's say, if you have anything on the YouTube algorithm or social media? Do you have any thoughts on that?
You know, when I first started, and when you are starting out on YouTube, it is hell, right? It's like you work really, really hard. This stuff is, really hard to make, and then you put it out there and nobody watches and nobody cares, or you get like a bunch of thumbs down and it's like, you suck. And you're like, what? This is free. This stuff is free. I just, why are you doing that, man? I still don't understand that, why people do that. But I went to Casey and I was like, hey, Casey, like, what's the deal with the algorithm? This is so not fair. And then he was like, he basically, I think if I was in person, he would probably punch me in the arm or something. And he'd be like, what he did say was, you have the wrong attitude, right? It's the content, right? If
good
the content is good,
he told you, he said, get good.
Yeah, he's like, you're just looking for ways to blame other people, right? And I thought about it, and it's like, oh shoot, that's right. That's actually like a self-defeating thing that I see everywhere, that I try to actively encourage, out of people, especially people who are trying to start companies, is like, you're always sort of, the easy way out is to like fail with style, right? The harder thing to do is like, I can crack this. There's nothing special about, this other person did it. This other person did it. If they can do it, I can do it. I'm going to figure it out. And I think that was useful for me. He was like, don't blame the algorithm. Everyone does that. You just need to make your thing awesome. Just focus on that. And that was like the best advice I could get at that moment. There's always going to be an algorithm. Whether or not it's fair, no, of course it's never fair, right? But you still got to play. And when you play, like, you still get the outcome that you want, right?
That is an amazing answer. I actually think that might be a great way to end it today, Gary, is on that note. I think that's an incredible lesson for people to take away. I know these people, one of the things about content is people's attention span is tight. So
yeah, you know it. Thank you for having me, man.
Let me say, guys, if you want to go hear more insights like what you've heard today, I found you so inspiring, so thoughtful. If you want to hear more things like this, go to Gary Tan's YouTube channel, linked in the description below. Let's blow him up. You've already blown